podcast is intended for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed are those of the panelists and do not reflect in any way those of the podcast partners, sponsors, or affiliates. Enjoy.
ThaBoxingvoice.com.
Dollar D Beyonce Productions.
I must be the greatest.
Let's get that done. I've been here before and I know what it takes. Hard work, dedication. ThaBoxingvoice.com. Mayweather's he's the best.
Win, lose, or draw, we coming to fight. Ain't nobody take that away. We're coming to fight.
They do what they can, I do what I want.
When you look at how he throws that left hook, it starts out really low. We're going to see what kind of character he has.
Oh, and the lefts and rights by Maidana. And it's all Marcos Maidana here with a lot of those punches off his shoulder.
I think anybody out there listening.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another edition of the Boxing Voice Radio. Hashtag TBV podcast, wherever hashtags are used. Hashtag no shoplifting. We are back. Lou DiBella, promoter. A figure in boxing that we want to talk to. So much going on, from Deontay Wilder to George Cambroso sparring with Manny Pacquiao, now being added to the undercard. Amanda Serrano going up for her 7th world title now, challenging only the other guy to do it in Manny Pacquiao. Then we have Wilder Fury 2, or is it Joshua Fury? So many questions, not to mention Patreon questions. You know you're getting those as well. I'm your host, Nestor Gibbs, Instagram and Twitter at NesGTO. Ready to talk some boxing. And it looks like we got Lou DiBella on the line already, so we're going to end all introductions and jump straight into it as we have the man of the hour, Lou DiBella. Lou, talk to me. How are you? Good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you for taking out the time to obviously be here live with the Boxing Voice. Happy New Year. How's it going?
Happy New Year, Ness.
Thank you. So
it's going good, man. It's fine. I had a rough stretch right before the holidays. Had a little touch of pneumonia, but I'm back to full strength. So
you sound a bit down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still recovering, but I'm much better.
I'm hoping boxing in 2019 has you in a good place, at least a good headspace. It looks like we're headed in the right direction. A lot of good things happening for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think some good things will happen in 2019. I think there's a lot of challenges in 2019 too. I mean, I think that, I think we have some good fights coming, some real interesting stuff's coming. Some big fights are on the horizon. There are a number of platforms televising boxing. I also think there are everybody's got their little, their little kingdom now. And I think you're also going to see some challenges in making some of the bigger and better fights. And you may see a few more stinkers than you'd like to. I think that the universe of boxing is adjusting to this new paradigm for doing business. So it's going to be an interesting year, like a very interesting year.
Definitely. Well, I'll start you off with the softballs. I know my whole audience will be waiting eagerly to find out any Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury news, but I want to talk Amanda Serrano and what exactly she is doing. It's been 10 years since she's fought at 115. I mean, what is the science behind going from 140 to 115? I know it's a title, but are you worried for your champion?
They know what they're doing. No one has jumped up and down in weight classes more effectively in all of boxing than she has. But I'm worried a little bit. I mean, 4.5 months ago, she fought for a 40-pound title. Now she's going to fight for a 15-pound title. As good as she looks physically and as hard as she's training, and she says she feels strong, that's a pretty amazing feat to try to attempt. And you would think that maybe it'd be a little bit depleted when you've dropped all those weight classes in 4.5 months. But like I said, she seems to be better at this than anyone I've ever seen.
Before I pass you to my round table of co-hosts, I do want to say, do you think that this fight could in any way affect the Katie Taylor super fight that's on the horizon? Just the fluctuation in weight, like you said, 140, now 115, then back up to Katie Taylor's weight. Could that affect Amanda Serrano and her greatness?
No, I don't think so, because the whole reason why, look, she really wanted to do this 15-pound title fight. And the reason why it's happening right now is that she's going to do this fight at 15. She probably will move up to, back up to the 26 sort of range to do something in MMA. Her next boxing fight will be at 35. Before she fights Katie Taylor, she'll fight a 35-pound, probably title fight, and then look to fight Katie Taylor in about 8 months at 35. So, she'll readjust to weight in her next fight, and the Katie Taylor fight won't be the next fight. The Katie Taylor fight will probably take place in around 8 months.
Lou, how's it going? Michael Gross here.
I'm not worried about that. I think she'll be 100% for Katie Taylor.
Lou, how's it going? Michael Gross here with the Boxing Voice. My first question is, you've always been a leader in women's boxing in the States. What can we expect from Raquel Miller and Heather Hardy this year?
Well, I mean, I'm engaged in talks right now for Heather Hardy to fight the unified champion, the BCB BA champion, Jelena. And that's a fight that would be, from Canada. She's been on top of most pound-for-pound lists for a long time. And that's a major, major fight at 126 pounds. And I'm negotiating for that fight right now. And that fight hopefully would go on an all-women's card that would take place March or April. Right now, we're negotiating with Showtime, and hopefully it'd be on Showtime. Raquel Miller is going to get back in the ring at the end of this month on that Roy Jones, one of those Roy Jones UFC cards. Roy Jones cards on UFC's streaming platform, and then we're looking at the possibility of a Raquel Miller world title fight, challenge for a world title, also on that all women's card. So I'm working very, very, strongly and spending a lot of time right now trying to get a really sensational all women's card done. I think it's necessary. There have been some real good women's fights televised. There have also been some real shaky women's fights televised. And I think that we need to present the card where that every fight that's going to be on television is a fight that is evenly matched, where the outcome is in doubt, and where you're likely to see great action. I think the best of women's boxing is as good as there is, but I think that you have to make sure that the talent is matched in a way where the outcome of the fight is in doubt, and where stylistically you're going to get a good fight. And that's what I'm working on for March or April.
Hey, Lou, this is Ron Goodall. You're involved in tons of different promotions and events. And one of the events that I was very curious to get maybe an update from you, people have been putting out articles that the World Boxing Super Series is in jeopardy of cancellations and has financial problems. You have a couple fighters in those type of events. I mean, have they reached out? Like, does everything still look good from a standpoint as a fight fan that we're going to get more of these World Boxing Super Series, especially from your fighters?
I don't know. I mean, look, I'm very optimistic and hopeful that this year's World Boxing Super Series will continue and that the next rounds will take place. They haven't scheduled any of the fights yet. Originally they thought that the fights would begin in February. Clearly, they're not going to begin in February. My fighters have been paid in full, as have I and the people working with them on the fights that have taken place. But it's no secret that they have had some issues in terms of payments being delayed and the new round not being scheduled yet. I'm hopeful that I've been reassured by people at the Super Series that the next rounds will take place. But based upon the lateness of payment in previous rounds, I'm going to want to make sure that they have the money for the next round and that money is shown to me and put into an account before my fighters fight. And also with respect to Regis and Ivan Barancek, Ivan's the new IBF champion. Regis is got the BC Diamond belt. Obviously, they're two of the best fighters at 140 pounds in the world. I'm not going to sit them indefinitely and let them be inactive. So I love the Super Series format. I'm 100% behind the Super Series and leaving my guys in it. I'm giving them every opportunity to right their ship and remedy whatever issues they have. But I'm not going to do anything to hurt my company, and I'm certainly not going to do anything to hurt my fighters. And I'm going to be very interested to see what goes on in the next month or so. But I have gotten some reassurances. I've had conversations with people at the Super Series, and I've gotten reassurances that whatever issues they have, they are working on fixing, and that we will have more information very shortly. So I'm going to count on that, but that's, I think, a discussion to be continued. I think it's a great format. I think if it works and the money's there and they're able to continue and pull it off, it's good for boxing. I'm not looking to be somebody to cause conflict, but at the same time, I'm not going to let my fighters suffer, and I'm not going to let my company suffer for no fault of ours. So I guess the answer is I'm very hopeful, but it remains to be seen.
Hey Lou, this is Mario Munguia. I was going to ask about Regis, so you answered that very nicely. So instead, I'll move on to Deontay Wilder. We all want to know what's going on. A lot of stuff in the media. We've been covering it for the last 2-3 weeks heavily. You got Frank Warren out there talking Fury Joshua. What's going on right now? What can you tell us?
I mean, Frank's been talking to Shelley. There was already discussions when the first fight happened about the possibility of a second fight. But there are obviously a lot, issues and discussions that have to take place to make a rematch. That's the fight Deontay would most want to do next. And, I think I still believe that that's probably the likelihood. And, we'll see what happens. I think that it's probably the opportunity that Fury would want also. And that's what Frank's indicated. It's not the kind of thing. The fact that you're not reading every day something on social media or in the news, that's probably a good sign, because every time you've read all the stuff back and forth in social media involving Eddie Hearn and all that other stuff, all it did was create, some humor and some, internet beefs, but nothing ever got done. I'm still optimistic that you're going to see Wilder Fury 2 in 2019.
So Frank Warren laying out a plan of a split pay-per-view between BT and Sky Sports is what, in your opinion? How do you interpret that?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the thing. Frank was in the media yesterday saying that his proposed offer is a split pay-per-view between BT and Sky Sports for an Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight. He would like it for it to be 50-50 because of what Tyson has already done.
Yeah, I'm not going to even get into that. That's, look, the same way we had all our back and forth with Eddie and Wilder for a year that I said I've had a fuck enough of, and I stepped out of. And I was, because I told the whole world, obviously that fight wasn't going to happen right now. Fury's star power has obviously risen greatly. He's a much more significant force in British boxing than he was before the Wilder fight. In Great Britain, Fury against AJ and is a huge topic, the way Wilder and anybody is here. They're going to go through their back and forth over there. Do I think there'll be a split pay-per-view between BN and Sky Sports? Of course, I don't think there's going to be a split pay-per-view between BN and Sky Sports. I mean, that's something Warren's throwing out, but I mean, you really believe that's something Eddie Hearn's going to do? Come on.
We've seen it done with, and that's what he used. His premise was, well, the states.
Yeah, and you've seen it done at Showtime. You've seen it done here once and twice in the history of pay-per-view. Like once or twice, you've seen it done here in history. You know, on fights where there were no alternatives for a big fight. You know, and Eddie's pretty much, you know, Eddie's got his deal. Frank's all in with BN. Eddie's all in with Sky, and he's got DAZN also. I don't see any split pay-per-view between BN and Sky happening. But to be honest with you, I haven't really wasted a lot of time thinking about it, and I'm not going to.
Now, look, it's our job to get this information for you, not Lou DiBella's to be out there on the social media. But obviously, Ben Davison is now saying the same thing. Immediately, he and Tyson Fury said it a day after the fight via Good Morning Britain. He says, look, let's give the UK an all-British affair.
Okay.
Me and Anthony Joshua.
And by the way, you exactly. But listen to what I said and listen to what you're saying right now. What side of the street are Ben Davison and Tyson Fury on? They're on Frank's side of the street. So Frank's side of the street's throwing out, hey, you guys say you really want it? Make it the fair way. We're BN, you're Sky, let's split the pay-per-view. You see AJ saying it? You see Eddie Hearn saying it? You know, and by the way, I drove myself crazy for a limited period of time. I stopped before other people did on my side because I knew that back then Eddie and AJ were full of it. They're going to go back and forth over on the other side of the pond right now between Fury and AJ. But the same way, I don't think that the AJ camp were willing to make any amazing sacrifices to get the Wilder fight done. Hell, they weren't willing to get the Wilder fight done on terms they demanded themselves when they were met. I don't see Eddie and AJ responding to Davidson or to Fury or to Frank and saying, hey, that seems like a good idea. Let's get it going. Come on. Let's move on to the next question.
Hey, Lou, Michael here. I got a kind of like
I don't see it. I don't see it.
I got a follow-up question to that. If Deontay Wilder is not able to get the Tyson Fury rematch, what path does he take? We all know that Big Baby is a free agent now, and you have worked with Salida Promotions before. Is that a possible fight that we can look towards?
You know what? You're saying we all know that Big Baby's a free agent. I'm not so sure of that.
Mr. Gibbs?
I mean, he had a 2-fight deal and it was over with Baghdad Dinu. He did express interest in an interview with us that he wants to re-up, but it was a 2-fight deal which ended with Baghdad Dinu fight.
Yeah, and it may have been a 2-fight deal, but I have a hard time believing there's not some kind of first last or last refusal. I mean, I could tell you this flat out that Matchroom's out there right now trying to make a fight for Jarrell Miller right now, along with Jarrell's American promoters, Salida and Cohen. So I still think that there's some kind of connection between Jarrell and Matchroom / DAZN. I mean, I'm not saying it's a hard, steady, contract and not just some kind of first refusal right. But I think. Look, I also think that Joshua, there's going to be some pressure on Joshua if and when he doesn't get Wilder or Fury, and I personally don't think he will. I think there's going to be some pressure on him to try to do something dramatic in the States. I also think that Eddie Hearn needs to do something dramatic for DAZN. So, and I've read some stuff from Dillian White recently, and I think Dillian is a pretty much of a straight shooter. I mean, I don't know Dillian to spew a lot of BS, where he said, I don't think necessarily I'm next in line. I think that AJ may look to Jarrell Miller in the States. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jarrell Miller didn't get his shot with AJ someplace in America.
But back to my original point, if Wilder can get the Fury rematch, what road does Wilder go down?
I mean, there's other heavyweights out there of significance to look at. I mean, there's also the mandatory with Breazeale that he could get out of the way. That's not his desire. His desire is to do something huge again, and he really wants to, to answer all questions and do the Fury fight again. So you know what? When you don't have to look at Plan B yet, I mean, he just fought in December. It's the beginning of January, so we don't have to be looking at Plan B yet. We're not looking at Plan B yet.
Hey, Lou, this is Ron Goodall again. So my whole question, I want to piggyback a little bit off that, is if Anthony Joshua comes to the States and he fights, let's say, Jerome Miller in the United States, and let's say it was actually a sold-out event, very successful, does that strengthen the argument that he can make more money fighting in the U.S., or does that strengthen the argument
I'm interrupting you for once. I know I'm interrupting you, but I'm going to interrupt you, okay?
You go ahead.
Have you gotten any sense that when, with all the bullshit on social media and all the stuff that went on with AJ, and then the deadlines, you got to remember, right before we fought Fury, they were throwing out deadlines. If you want to fight AJ next, you have to, lock in before December, 2nd. If you want, I mean, with all that, you really have the sense that in the United States, AJ's star is rising. Like, nobody watched his Povetkin fight on DAZN. It wasn't like that was a big event on DAZN. AJ's star is not rising here. I mean, I think it'd be a good thing for his career and for him to fight here. But do I expect he'd come over here and there'd be some like triumphant, 20,000 seat sellout in the United States for Anthony Joshua? Get the fuck out of here! Come on. You and I know that's not happening.
And I definitely want to just get your opinion on the overall ideas. If he does come over here and get any type of relatively success from any point, does that strengthen the idea that the United States is the market he should be in if he faces like Deontay Wilder? Because it's...
You know what? The United States is the market he should be in if he faces Deontay Wilder for a completely different reason. And by the way, it's not that we wouldn't go to the UK. We would go to the UK for Fury. We would go to the UK for AJ. We would go to a foreign country if it generates the most money. Here's the difference: you can sell 60,000 seats and sell out in a stadium in the UK and not generate the money you can generate in 20,000 seats in Las Vegas. And that's a fact. So I expect that, that the biggest fights, here's the other thing. You can't do an American pay-per-view at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you need to do an American pay-per-view to maximize money. Now, I'm not, now theoretically, could you go at 3 o'clock in the morning in the UK and you're still on prime time here? Yeah, you could do it. And if the money was great enough, would Deontay be willing to go to Europe? Yeah, he said 1 million times he would go to Europe if the money was great enough. The likelihood is that the biggest of the big pay-per-views between any American fighter and any UK fighter is likely to take place in America. Now, that being said, if I promoted Anthony Joshua or I was AJ himself, I would want to come over to America sometime because you want to become something more of a star here. You want to become somebody that the American public can relate to better before you have your huge event, so you can maximize the money in your huge event. So common sense says to me, if AJ doesn't get Wilder or Fury next, common sense says to me that the people around him have to be thinking about an American fight in 219, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right, well, there we go. We agree.
Okay, Lou. So this might be too broad of a question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because we spend most of our days trying to decipher the minds of promoters and networks. And I feel like I'm in a unique position here with someone who has been on both sides and understands both sides. Maybe you can just explain to us for a minute the problematic aspects that networks face, and also from the promoter side with fighters, and especially getting fighters to joint promotions, joint network promotions and things like that. Just kind of break it down for us, what those days in the lives are like for them. Obviously, fighter communication is different on both sides, but just relatively speaking.
It's there's always been issues with first of all, I want to be honest with you. They don't make fighters like they used to. I mean, they make some. Like you got to look at a kid like a Mikey Garcia and say to yourself, hey, maybe I think he's nuts for fighting that fight, but he's got an old school mentality, But I hear way too many interviews out of fighters lately where instead of complaining about not getting the biggest and best fights, they're giving you reasons why, they want to fight somebody who's an easy touch because they want to fight here or there, or there's various reasons that they don't want the biggest fights yet, or if I'm going to fight that big fight, I better get $8 gazillion, which is more money than would ever be on the table. I think there are still fighters that have that kind of old school mentality, which is like put the best in front of me and I'm going to fight them. But I think there are more fighters now that have a business person's mentality, which is like most money for the least risk. And that's one of the problems that, like I said, one of the challenges that exists in 2019, and it's one of the things that's going to be problematic for fans. We've always had issues of exclusivity between networks. But when they were like a couple of basic cable networks, those issues usually could be overcome. And most of the time, contracts had like sort of first and last in them, but not steadfast, you can't fight elsewhere. And usually the purse bid kind of mechanisms that existed would overcome exclusivity. When you have dueling streaming services, and you have Heyman, who's not technically a promoter, but you have Heyman with relationships with Showtime on premium cable and Fox on free TV. And by the way, I still think that in a lot of ways, he's advantaged by the fact that his fighters are likely to get more eyeballs seeing them than anybody else. And then you have ESPN, which has a combination of a traditional linear television service in ESPN. It also has that ESPN Plus app. ESPN needs to have an app. ESPN has a big brand. They need that app and that streaming service to protect the mothership, because eventually, somewhere down the line, not tomorrow, not next year, probably not 2 years from now, but 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 8 years from now, the whole way we're watching television is going to change. So they're using that app to prepare themselves for that world that's coming. You know what I mean? And then you got the Zone, who doesn't really have much of a brand, but they're out there with a shitload of money trying to compete with ESPN Plus. So, they're all spending insane money. I don't see a great likelihood that there's going to be a willingness on their part to have their guys skipping between streaming services and networks. They just spent a crazy amount of money to sign Canelo, and you're not going to see Canelo cross the street. And Golden Boy got, a bunch of money to make a bunch of dates. You're not seeing them out there looking for the best opponents with other promoters. You see them out there scheduling fights, which, to be honest with you, I'm sort of like, I mean, they just scheduled a show with Machado, and I don't even remember the other fight, but I just remember thinking to myself, here we go, and you're going to have the same issues to some extent. There's not a giant pool of talent available to Top Rank to put Bud Crawford in with. They're looking, they got ESPN and ESPN Plus, but you're hearing about pay-per-view right now, so they can try to make a deal, if it's not closed already, with Amir Khan to get a fight for Bud Crawford. That's a big fight. These are not just networks competing. These are like platforms, media platforms, to one or two companies, where the whole model does it involve working with other people? So, like I said earlier, that's what I was referring to when I said, yeah, it's going to be an interesting year at 219, but also a challenging one.
Lou, I want to switch.
I answered your question.
I want to switch subjects just a little bit, and the more we interview people, what it wasn't my go?
No, I just wanted to piggyback real quick on the network. What was your final thoughts about HBO going out of business?
As low as they had driven the quality of their product and as low as they had driven their passion for the sport, as much as it depressed me personally, as someone that had a lot to do with building them to the pinnacle that they were at in the 90s, I understood the decision. If you're not going to be number one and you're not going to be number two and your product's going to suck, get the fuck out.
That's how I feel. Out with the old and with the new. But Lou, I wanted to have you switch subjects. And can you tell us anything about David McWater? I mean, the more we interview fighters, the more I talk to publicists, the more this guy's name is being connected. And I'm asking myself, is this the new Al Heyman in a couple of years? And the double question would be, I seen that Cameron Duncan, who is a manager like David McWater, came out and said in an interview that he's a promoter now because fighters leave managers all the time once they get to the promised land. And I wanted your opinion on, you know, managers getting into, I mean, Cameron specifically now being a promoter.
You know, look, the lines between manager and promoter were fucking muddled a long time ago. The state athletic commission laws that define manager and promoter and what they do no longer really apply. And frankly, I mean, I'm not concerned about, I mean, I don't care what Cameron calls himself, a manager or a promoter. Dave McWater's not going to be the next Al Heyman, but Dave has become a significant manager. You know, the interesting thing about Dave is that his great skill is as a talent evaluator. You know, the way in baseball right now, they have all these matrices and calculations and almost like mathematics that they go through to determine, you know, the upside of an athlete. Dave's a very smart guy. He's a guy that's got resources and he's a bright guy. And he's a guy that has his own system. And it's literally mathematical to determine the fighters he thinks have the most upside and the best chance of being champions and stars. You know, Teofimo's one of the guys that he identified. So is Charles Conwell, who I promote, and you're going to see a whole lot more of. He's still similar in age to Teofimo, very low 20s.
Stephen
we brought him
Shaw
down from 160 pounds. Charles Conwell.
No. And I was just piggybacking saying he's got Stephen Shaw, the heavyweight, as well.
He has Shaw that I promote also. I promote a number of his fighters. I think I promote more of his fighters than anybody. But he's a guy that's got a great system and an ability to identify talent, and he's got resources, and he's, you know, a serious player in the managerial world right now. But I don't think he's, you know, the next Al Heyman. I don't think he has designs on being a promoter. I just think he's a name you're hearing more of because he's signing more and more fighters, and because the fighters he is signing are having success.
So what's the deal with Stephen Shaw? Last we seen him, he was in a Wilder camp. He looks like the goods, and then it feels like he's been, you know, shelved.
No, he'll be fighting soon enough. I mean, I'll be scheduling something for him. He had a little bit of a setback last year with a gummy bear that caused him to have a couple of months of inactivity. He ate a gummy bear not realizing it was dosed, or claiming he didn't realize it was dosed, so he was out for a little bit of time there. But you're accurate. He was in the Wilder camp.
Yeah, right, Lou. You're gonna pull a fast one. That it was dosed with what? THC. You're saying he had a THC gummy bear. He was in Vegas having fun.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he was in Vegas or having fun. It were just, you know, like had one of his boys pull a fucking stunt on him, but he ate a gummy bear and it caused him, you know, to lose a month or two. But we're going to get him back on track shortly. One of the things I've been doing is accumulating and signing quality young heavyweights. And I'm working on an all-women's show. I want to do a couple of all-heavyweight shows this year, you know, on my Broadway boxing series and start. I mean, I have a bunch of heavyweights in that kind of 10-0, 12-0 kind of range that I'm developing, and that's one of the things I'm going to be working hard on this year. I have a kid named Teslenko, fights out of Toronto, is a terrific heavyweight prospect, Stephen Shaw. I just signed a former NFL player who's about 10-0, Mike Balogun. I have George Arias, who's not a big heavyweight, but an extremely talented one who's undefeated out of the Bronx in New York. Junior Fa out of New Zealand. He missed a little bit of time. He just looked great in his last fight, and he was also in Wilder's camp, but he had a fight on Showbox where he won, but he didn't look great. Then he went to New Zealand and he won and he didn't look great. But we figured out that he seemed like something was wrong with him. We sent him to the hospital. We had him checked out. It turns out that he had some physical problems. He had some, he had anemia, and they had to find out why he had that anemia. They did. He's 100% now. This is the kid who beat Joseph Parker a couple of times in the amateurs and is a huge heavyweight. I have a kid, Jalalov, Bakir Jalalov from Uzbekistan, who was the #1 rated amateur in the world a year or two ago. I think he's every bit the prospect and maybe more than Joe Joyce is. I put him in a category, that same kind of category, and I would put he's only had 4 or 5 pro fights. I'd already put him in there with guys in the top 15. So I'm going to be concentrating heavily on the heavyweight division in 2019, and Stefan Shaw is going to be part of that group of heavyweights I'm concentrating on.
Hey Lou, this is Ron again. I just want to update on 2 fighters of yours. I just want to know with Sergey Durenchenko, the middleweight division's mostly on DAZN. Is that the direction that you want to take him? And then I guess my other questions for Richard Comey. He gets his second chance for the IBF. Are you guys trying to eye down the Lomachenko fight if he does win that title?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's fighting Chimaev for the belt on February 2nd in Dallas. If he wins that fight, the fight we really are totally eyeballing is a unification with Lomachenko for Richard Comey. With respect to Derevyanchenko, the IBF ordered a title elimination bout between Derevyanchenko and Jack Kulke. A purse bid is scheduled in, I think, about a week and a half. And I want to get him right back in there where he's mandated for a title shot, because he's exactly the kind of guy that had to sit and wait too long, because as you saw in the Danny Jacobs fight, which I thought could have gone either way in its decision, he's a bitch of a challenge for anybody out there. But he's not a guy that, because he's not American, he doesn't deliver a big market. He's a guy that people want to avoid. So I have to use that mandatory system, to get him the opportunity he deserves. And I expect him to get another opportunity in 2019.
Hey, Lou, my final question for you is, Tevin Foreman had a big 2018. What's next for him in 2019? And can we see a potential unification with Gervonta Davis?
Yeah, you could see a Gervonta Davis fight, and I think it's probably inevitable. If it happens in 2019, it'll be late in the year. It won't be early because of Tevin's contract with DAZN. But late in the year, it's certainly a meaningful possibility. And I also think that there's some interesting matchups with some guys that Hearn has. I think a fight between Tevin Farmer and Scott Quigg would be a hell of a fight.
Absolutely. How proud of Tevin are you of what he came back from, being shot in the hand, couple early losses, and now he's on top of the world, it seems like?
I mean, I couldn't be prouder of him. But then, I mean, more than a couple of early losses. How many guys go from 7-4-1 to 28-4-1, becoming a millionaire and being a world champion? I mean, in the history of boxing, that's barely ever happened. So, I mean, he's really almost a guy that's, you know, achieved something historic. And if you know Tevin, you know that he did this with like really self-confidence and optimism, and, you know, keeping his head above water and keeping his chin up through a lot of obstacles. So, you know, this is a kid that I think can do almost anything. And he's a kid that can shock and surprise people because he's got that kind of like mental makeup. You know, he's a mentally a very, very, very strong kid. And physically, the kid has amazing boxing ability, and his tools are very, very solid. You know, I don't care who you pick, including Lomachenko. Tevin Farmer wouldn't be an easy out for anybody.
Lou, if you got a few more minutes, can we go to some questions from the people that we have? They're our most loyal listeners, and gives you an opportunity to see how well these people are following. The first one is from Brian Franco. He says, this question is about one of your lesser-known fighters, Kerman the Revolver Lijara, welterweight Spaniard, and when he'll be shown...
Leharaga. Kerman Leharaga is one of the hardest punching welterweights in the world. His style is like almost like Arturo Gatti. Like he's like comes forward, rumbles, but his one punching power is like astounding. And you know, he's European champion and highly rated by the organizations. He draws 10,000 people plus in Spain when he fights in Spain. And he's going to be fighting in the States this year. I have worked out a deal for Kerman with ESPN / Top Rank, where he's going to be featured on ESPN, and then maybe with a couple of fights and people getting to know who he is, and there being some demand, a big fight down the line with Terrence Crawford.
Funny you say his fighting style's like Arturo Gatti. This guy was comparing him. He said his fighting style is somewhat like Lucas Matisse. He would like you to matchmake him, preferably with a Jeff Horn type. He says that fight would be exciting. So the next one,
he's right.
Okay,
he's right. That would be a hell of a fight. I'm not so sure it's a fight Jeff Horn's going to run to, particularly after he destroyed Mundine and has become such a superstar in Australia, because Leharaga would be a handful for Jeff Horn. But I think that whoever that listener was that sent that question is obviously an educated boxing fan, because a Leharaga Jeff Horn fight would be a hell of a fight.
Joseph Rodriguez from Texas. Who was a fighter who surprised you and far exceeded any expectation you had for them?
Malignaggi. I mean, I had expectations for him, but when he broke his hand 6 times in the first 5 years of his career, and he kept having setback after setback, would I have ever thought that he would have accomplished everything he did? No, I think he exceeded my expectations for him, even though he was a good amateur and a skilled boxer. But everybody knows Paulie was never a puncher. He had very brittle hands, and he's a kid that is that really did get the most out of everything he was given.
Crucial.
But there are others too. I mean, you know, there are people sometimes that, you know, come out of nowhere, and you know, you don't look at them as a big prospect. You don't give them a big signing bonus. You're paying them minimums, and then you watch them in the ring, and they keep getting, you know, better and better. I'd have to think about who I'm referring to, but you know, not all of the guys who make it. See, one of the wonderful things about boxing, frankly, is that guys come out of nowhere and pull off upsets and win titles when you don't expect them to. And a lot of times, the bonus babies and the kids that are the best amateurs don't necessarily become the best pros.
This is one probably for the historians or just boxing fans that have been listening or watching the sport longer. King Amin in Essex, New Jersey says, what are 3 of the greatest fights DiBella Entertainment was involved in that we didn't get to see because negotiations fell through? Got him tongue-tied with that.
You know what? That didn't happen. I mean, you could start with Deontay Wilder and AJ. Fights that didn't get to happen because negotiations fell through.
I mean, you had Jermaine Taylor. Anything big with Jermaine Taylor that fell through? What are some of the other guys? Alan Green was a hot prospect at one time.
You had Martinez too, Sergio Martinez.
Oh, well, with Sergio Martinez, it wasn't that it fell through, but it was. He had to wait and wait and wait, and people were waiting for him to get older and older and frailer before they would fight him. So, like, Sergio was almost the story of his whole career. You know what I mean? We had to go through hell. We had to do we did a documentary called Maravilla about everything it took to get the Chavez fight, and he wound up getting stripped when Chavez wouldn't fight him. And he wound up they gave a title to Chavez and just made believe Sergio didn't exist. And the Cotto fight happened a couple of years later than we would have liked it to happen. And I mean, his whole career was marked by fights that took longer to make than they should have because, look, when he came, people make this argument that, oh yeah, at the end of Sergio's career, we all knew he was hurt and injured and he fought when he shouldn't have fought, etc. When Sergio first came over to this country, he was already damaged goods. He never had a leg that was okay. In fact, he was a soccer player and a professional bicycle racer. He never picked up gloves until he was over 20 years old, and he had to give up those other careers because he blew his leg out. And but as soon as people got a whiff of how good the guy was, and he started literally playing with people and knocked out. I thought he beat Paul Williams in the first fight, but what he did to him in the second fight was, career changing. There was always, it was always difficult to get a negotiation done and make the fights we wanted to make for Sergio.
Last one from Rodney. He says, why is Wilder not considering AJ for the spring bout with Fury dragging his feet concerning the rematch? This could be a perfect storm for Wilder. Beat AJ, unify the heavyweight division.
No, stop. You stopped the question. I mean, because AJ and Eddie Hearn, they can go out there and do all the social media, gabbing they want to do. They don't really want to fight next. They don't want to fight next.
What makes
they don't even want Dillian White next, for Christ's sake.
All right, so how does AJ and Eddie prove they want the fight to Lou DiBella and the public?
When they want the fight, it's not going to be discussed on your podcast. It's not going to be tweeted about. Eddie and his father aren't going to be making deadlines and false demands. They're going to really want to make the fight. You're not going to hear about it, and then you're going to hear an announcement the fight was made. That's how it's going to work. I mean, what do they have to do to prove it? I don't know. They turned down $50 million. I think that was pretty good proof they didn't want it.
Why is there this narrative that money didn't exist?
Because they're full of shit.
And
the money didn't exist. Why would the money not exist? I don't know.
Well, Eddie Hearn specifically says
Tyson Fury got paid pretty well. I mean, no one's complaining that the check bounced. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what you think between Viacom that owns Showtime and Heyman and everybody involved in the fight that we made an offer when the money didn't exist?
Well, it's also the contradicting statement from Frank Warren, right? Saying that somehow, that money was tied to BT. I know that Espinoza has already given me his opinion on that and how that was false, but why would Frank say such a thing?
Say what? What thing?
That
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That part of the $50 million offer would be coming from BT Sports.
Yeah, but what's the problem with that? When you're making an offer and you're fighting a British guy, you're going to have somebody as a partner in the UK.
Well, wouldn't that be contract?
I don't have to. If I make a legitimate offer, this is boxing, man. This isn't like proof of funds. But, I never heard that expression until it came out of Eddie Hearn's mouth. Proof of funds.
But
fight the fight. If you don't get paid, sue us.
But what? Wait a minute.
I mean, come on. I mean, you think when I make a deal with Bob Arum, I ask Arum for proof of funds, or when I make a deal with anybody out there for a fight, I'm sitting there saying, okay, before I sign on the dotted line, I'd like to see proof of funds. Get the fuck out of here.
But Lou,
I just broke a New Year's resolution. I didn't want to throw out F-bombs, but I'm doing it anyway.
We love F-bombs. We love F-bombs. We love F-bombs. Man, you went on your rant. You killed my follow-up. I was gonna come with a follow-up. Man, Lou, we're gonna let you go. We had you
real quick. I got a real quick follow-up question about something that you said earlier. Working with ESPN, DAZN, and Showtime.
Wait, Mike, I remember. I remember, Lou. Don't you see that contradicts? It's like contradicting or a conflict of interest. The fact that BT would be tied to an offer that is for Sky Sports, a fighter that's tied to Sky Sports. That was the follow-up.
It wasn't a fighter for Sky Sports. No, it wasn't. It was an offer to Anthony Joshua said, like, believing no one would do it. Give me $50 million. I'll go anywhere. I'll fight Deontay Wilder. So what we did was we put together $50 million. And we said, here's your offer. Had nothing to do with that. I mean, when you're sitting there, if they come to us, believe me, if they came to us with $50 million, we wouldn't be sitting there arguing about networks. At least at that point in time, we wouldn't have.
But are you admitting that the fight would be on BT because you have all the money?
No, who's saying the fight would be on BT? I mean, it's a negotiation, dude. It's a fucking negotiation. If they say, okay, you walk in the room, you figure out how it's going to get done. I mean, if you have a tie with a network, you say, okay, I'm keeping UK rights. You're getting American rights. This is how we're splitting worldwide rights. This is how we're splitting. You know, don't try to get into fuck God, you're covering the sport. You're not negotiators. You're not the business part of it. You're not fucking Forbes magazine. You're a boxing website. Like I'm not faulting you, but don't listen. Don't get caught up in these other people's bullshit. You know, this is not rocket scientists. It's making fights. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, what do I? Ultimately, do we give a fuck if it's on what network it's on in the UK? Of course not.
We don't, but I could see their argument, though. We have to say that.
What argument? What are you talking about? We never said to them, you could. They sent us a lowball shit offer. It wasn't telling us what TV we were keeping. It's saying we're paying you this to buy you out of the fight. Okay? Their fighter said, pay us $50 million, you could buy us out. We call their bluff. The fuck are you talking about, Sky TV and you know, the other network? It had nothing to do with anything. When Eddie wants to make the fight, the fact that what network Joshua has a deal with in the UK is going to have no impact on whether or not we can make a deal. The same way the networks that Deontay's working with here isn't going to have an impact on whether or not we can make a deal.
Speaking of making a deal, making an
impact.
Unless,
of course, Eddie says you have to fight us on DAZN, in which case that would very possibly create a deal because it would create an issue of how many people are going to really fucking see the fight.
Okay. Speaking of making a deal, making a fight, Terrence Crawford's Bob Arum sent over a $3 million flat fee because Brian McIntyre told us it was a flat fee and it was not for pay-per-view on ESPN for Danny Garcia. Do you, as a promoter, a guy that's seen millions of dollars, do you think that was a lowball offer for Danny Garcia?
How much was it?
$3 million. ESPN crossed the street for a WBO title shot at Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, I think that was, I mean, it might have been a lowball offer. I'm not saying it was a ridiculous offer, but why would you cross, if you're making that kind of money already with the people that have supported you your whole career, what the fuck you're going to go across the street to somebody else's network to fight a fighter there that's desperate to have somebody cross over to fight him because he has no talent over there to fight him and take the kind of money you're already making? That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
Not at all.
Real quick, I got the follow-up question from earlier. Working with DAZN, Showtime, and ESPN, how are you managing not to like funnel fighters to like certain networks? Are you just working out the best deal for your fighters on different platforms?
Well, look, I mean, you got to pay attention to what platform you're talking about. I mean, from a standpoint of what's the best place for a guy to be. Leharaga needed a big opportunity. Bud Crawford doesn't have a lot of alternatives to fight on ESPN, and ESPN was willing to, and Top Rank willing to give him some exposures before then to build him up in the States. So that was a good place for him to be. Richard Comey, I spoke to other networks about Richard Comey, but they don't have Lomachenko, and Lomachenko wants to unify the 35-pound belts. So, winning that belt and having an arrangement with ESPN allows Comey a situation where there's no impediment and there's a direct line to a Lomachenko fight and a huge payday. On the other hand, if there are situations right now, if I wanted to do something, there are situations right now where I would absolutely pick up the phone and call Al Heyman first because of the talent that he represents and the platforms he has on free TV and premium cable. With respect to DAZN, Eddie Hearn was looking for American fighters to build up on DAZN USA, and I believe that Tevin had some star quality as a personality and was sort of emerging, and Eddie offered a deal that was the best in the market, and I was happy to do a deal there for him. When Eddie asked Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano was looking for a platform, an opportunity to fight a 15-pound title on television for good money, but also an opportunity to fight a defining fight. And Katie Taylor's that defining fight, and Eddie offered a deal that was extremely fair. So I made a deal with Eddie and DAZN for Amanda Serrano. Look, it's very challenging not having your own platform where all these people have these platforms. But the one advantage it has for the fighters I promote is that I'll do business with anybody. I don't think any of the people I just mentioned think I'm an idiot or someone that's really hard to do a deal with. And, I'll go in the direction that best suits the interests of my fighter and my company.
Lou, we want to thank you for joining us. Man, we had such a great time talking with you, and you gave us an hour, man. You're just awesome, man. Every time you come on,
that was only 15 minutes. What are you talking about, Mario?
Oh, that was 15 minutes. My bad. We know you got a busy schedule, so we're gonna let you wrap it up. But thank you again for joining.
A lot of money with that 15
minutes. Yes, sir.
Lou, you're a man of the people, man. We gotta show the world that there's not only one promoter that is for the people. Everybody thinks Eddie deserves this promoter of the year. Look at everything that you've done. Like, I'm sitting back here quietly applauding you to be able to do business with everybody. You have systematically gotten everyone in your stable the right deal, regardless of cold wars and, Twitter wars and what they say on social media. You're working with Bob. You're working with Eddie. You're working with Al. The true man is you. You're not out here saying you won't work with Al. You're not calling people Shelly. You're working with everyone, spreading the love, and you got women's boxing back on the map. I will ask, though, with women's basketball not getting any love, why do you think women's boxing will be different?
You know what? When you go to an arena and you watch a women's fight, the people are into it. And if you make the right matchups, you get great action. Look at Amanda's last fight was a lot of fun when she fought that bigger girl at 140. The Claressa Shields fight with Hannah Gabriels when Claressa was evenly matched. Even though Hannah was a little bit smaller, that was a great fight. If you make the right fights, people will watch. The women right now aren't demanding any kind of, pay equity with men. They're just demanding to be paid something fair so that they could actually pay their bills and their mortgages and their rent. I think that the talent pool among women is rising rapidly, and they deserve a platform. They don't deserve, I'm not saying they deserve the same platform as men get or the same money as men get, but they certainly deserve their piece of the pie, and that piece of the pie has got to be a lot bigger than it's been so far.
Real quick question.
Ooh, how get out of here? They're not gonna let.
I know, right? But how is it working with Eddie Hearn and like seeing him grow up from a very young age to the man that he is now?
Uh-oh.
I mean, look, I've known Eddie since he's a little kid. I mean, like, let's face reality. It's not like Eddie had to grow up the hard way. But look, I mean, I got no problem working with Eddie at all. And I've known Eddie for a long time. And he's always said this, but a lot of the truly nastiest shit we said to each other, there wasn't truly hate behind it. Dude, I've worked with Bob Arum for 29 fucking years. And Al Heyman's been my friend for 19 years. And you've never like seen a public problem between us. I have the ability to work with pretty much anybody, man. Business is business. You don't have to like go on vacation with the people you do business with. You got to just be able to sit down and have a reasonable understanding of your industry and a reasonable understanding of the relative value that different fights and different fighters bring to the table. And if you have that kind of like that background and that intellect and that reasonableness, it's not rocket scientry, man. It's like it's sort of like basic business, but 101. So I have no problem with dealing with people. And look, Eddie's father was a massive success, and Eddie sort of inherited a situation that was a pretty good situation to inherit. And I don't hate him for it, man. If you're lucky enough to be in that position, God bless you. I came up a different way, but that's life.
Lou, as you're walking out the virtual door of the studio, just tell us, DAZN, would we ever see Broadway boxing on DAZN or ESPN since they have unlimited bandwidth?
Maybe. You never know. I'll leave you with that. And guys, have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Lou.
No problem, Lou.
Bye-bye.
Well, long overdue, Lou. Thanks for sticking around so long with us. There you have it, promoter Lou DiBella. I mean, all we're doing is putting the pressure on Eddie Hearn, name after name, interview after interview. He can't duck us. I mean, today I publicly went out on his Instagram and let him know we were going to have Lou and that he should call in. He's ducking the biggest podcast in boxing, but we'll continue to have his associates, his colleagues, his business members or friends or whatever you want to call them on the show discussing business that has to do with Eddie until he comes and shows face.
Real quick,
Mario, I'm just going to say publicly, hold on, Mike. I'm going to say Mario and everybody in that chat, they ducked the last question. I was asking for some tag team help in the chat for him to press it because he never pinned down like, yes, it's coming from him. He's saying, so what if it is? And all this other hypothetical. I want, yes, the money's coming from there, but my guys ain't helped me. It's all right.
I felt like he wasn't going to give you what you wanted, like no matter what. I don't know. I thought it was a dead end at that point.
I went to you and I was hoping either you or Ron could just like word it differently.
I was thinking about it. I really was. And I was like, okay, if Ness is going to go out on the limb, I'm going to try. But I mean, dude, he's good. You got to give him that. He's good. He knows what to say.
I'm not gonna lie. I was mid typing to send some of our interviews out, and I saw Mario, and I heard Mario go, "Well, thanks for having us."
I was like, I'm just gonna get so we could get him again. We'll get him again.
Someone had to get him off.
OMG! I am so excited.
It was a great interview. But listen, Mike. I mean, you need to do your Denzel now. 654 people.
That's what I'm about to do, bro. You fucking cut me off, man. I'm kind of mad at you now, nigga. I'm kind of want to cover your ass now for cutting me off, but it is what it is. 646 watching, 161 thumbs up, man. What are we doing? We going out here, come to our page and just shoplifting the content, not showing no likes, not showing no shares. What are we doing, man? If you don't like the damn content, smash thumbs down. But Lou gave y'all what y'all wanted to hear. Y'all want to hear BT has some involvement in it? Well, there you go. There
You should at least have over 200, 200, 300.
And be happy sheep. Go be happy sheep now. But don't forget who brought you this shit. So call us biased, call us what you want, but we ask the tough questions and we get the real answers. So go ahead and smash the thumbs up.
Ness was ready, man. Ness was good, man. But we definitely got a lot of answers.
As a team, we did a magnificent job because we kept the ball rolling and we got everything. Look, I wanted Dave McWater. I can actually get Dave McWater on now. It looks like he heard the show and he's like, "Who's this?" Because I found this number online. It's like, yo, who is this dude? Why is every time that I'm going to interview someone, this dude manages them? Like, I need to know this guy because I know who Cameron Duncan is. I know who. What's my man that has Chavez that we see all the time in Las Vegas? The Mexican one, Nelson Gibson, Sam Gibson, something Gibson. Nelson Gibson, Samson Gibson, something Gibson. Always with the little flags, not like Don, but whatever.
Hey man, look here. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do.
Cajas is his guy too. Gibson, Sean Gibson, maybe.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. Don't we got
Sean
this
Gibson?
Thing,
yeah.
Don't we? I got this thing called on-demand shows.
We do. TheBoxingVoice.com/on-demand, where any fan can cater their own show.
If we get to 400 likes, I will pay $20 of your on-demand show. Whoever it is, the first person to get one in by, let's say, 2:00. If you get one in, I
don't hit till 2:00. You bet.
I'm saying.
No, he's saying if it gets to it by 2:00.
If they have a show made by 2:00 on the Patreon page on demand, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I would pay $20 for the show if we get to 400 likes.
If we get to 400 likes, they be hating on us, B. I don't know why, man. We bringing that fire straight fuego. But anyway, you know the number. Call in 1-425-569-5241. Thank you, everybody, for sending them super chats. Let me get to them. I know I see my man R&V, Rhythm and Violence, our boomeranger from New Orleans. So what do we got here? We actually got a lot. Okay, Rhythm and Violence was the first one. And he said, "You heard that, Mike? Ha ha." I guess he's talking about that low ball offer, Mike. You already know. I love Muff Dive. Ness with the stupid questions. Really? Basil Lomachenko asked Lou why he told Fury he won after the fight. Basil, you should have asked that in Patreon if you wanted that to make it to Lou's ears. I love Muff Dive. Back with another one. They sent contracts. They not replied. They ducking. Rhythm and Violence. UK full of sheep. I love Muff Dive again. Ness. There you go, ducking. And then he comes back again. This guy's obsessed. I love Muff Dive. No negotiations. They wouldn't meet them, Ness. Wake up. Rhythm and Violence back with another one. Listen, Mike. And
I like how you fucking threw that little Danny Garcia question in there and kind of led him with, do you think it's disrespectful?
I also went like this.
You went like this. Like, this is your chance. Say something, Mike.
You people though, bro.
He just asked if it was a low ball offer.
What the fuck is a nigga going to say that been watching boxing 3 years to a fucking promoter?
Don't do that. You know why? Don't do that because you've seen that he showed no bias. He works with Al. He works with Bob. Works with Bob. He works with Ed.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying me coming back for a rebuttal. He a promoter. He got way more experience.
But I'm thinking, do you agree with that though? All you had to say is
no. What I disagree with was Ness coming with the premise of disrespectful. We should have just asked, what was your thoughts on the $3 million offer to Danny Garcia?
He said, I won't say it's disrespectful, but I'll say it was low.
Yeah, I thought it was a fair answer, and I don't think it really crushed Mike's point of view at all. I feel like he said it was a good offer. It just wasn't good enough to get him to make that move, but he didn't call it a shit offer.
Terminated.
Whatever, Mario.
See, hater.
He did.
There you go. There you go. His true colors coming out.
Why Amir Khan got 5? Why didn't you bring that up?
I know. Why you didn't bring that up? Like, Blue, why do you think, or your argument is that Amir deserves it because he's commercially bigger. So why you didn't, try to get reassurance of that? Because you don't want to tangle with me. You don't want it with me.
was also more obvious, but
Yeah, whatever,
Hey.
Mario. You more experienced.
Hey,
You never jump in
Y'all see his veins and his neck coming out when he get hyped? Niggas,
That's passion,
sit
Mike.
your ass down, homie.
That's passion.
Sit your ass down before I make change.
Rhythm and Violence says, thumbs up, 630. You know what he mean by that? 630 watching and you ain't getting that thumb up. Man, I'm about to hurt something over here. Anyway, let's go out to the callers.
Remember to rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
You know that helps with the visibility of the show, lets the world know that we are and will remain number one on iTunes. All right? On iTunes means everywhere in the fucking world. Just letting you know.
These calls are brought to you by El Camino Electrical Services, experts in electric vehicle charging stations. For consultations and turnkey installation, visit us at elcaminoelectricalservices.com.
To this day. Yo, who got the best interviews to this day? TBV. Let's go out to alumni caller, long-time listener, former host, Boxing M. Dizzle. What up, B?
What up, Ness? And I heard that Mario's there too, so how's it going, Mario?
What up, MD?
Just chilling. Yeah, let me start off with saying I appreciate, my question was the WNBA question and women's boxing. And
that was a good question.
The truth is that, thanks, Mario. You know, I have some questions in my head, but it sounds stupid, but it's the truth. And there's such a limited amount of mainstream exposure for boxing. Like all you guys, I just heard like Kevin Farmer's name 1 million times. Like he couldn't even name who Amanda Serrano fought, the bigger girl. Even the promoter, a promoter in boxing. So when you limit the amount of exposure time when you put women's boxing on, it just limits what people want to see. And I know this is what I've seen in my pool of people. Men and women do not prefer watching women fight. I'm sorry, it's just a reality. And I think that's actually hurt the UFC by having the women fight in their sport, in their division, because people don't like watching them because it's just, they don't have as much power. They don't generate as much power. Anatomically, men and women are different. And people like to see violence when they watch boxing. I'm talking about the casual fan, which is what helps the sport grow. The people who like women boxing are like the nerds, the hardcores, the ones that like the 104-pound boxers. Those are the same ones. It's not the mainstream boxing, and it's not old school boxing thing. So that's my point about that. You have opinions about that, Ness or Mario?
Man, go ahead, Ness.
No, mine's just short. I'm a boxing degenerate, so I watch it all anyway.
I can't help but agree with the casual aspect of it, as far as like I've never seen a bad women's fight and not ever, but I've never seen a bad women's fight on certain platforms. Like they know how to matchmake, but those platforms aren't getting through, like these platforms that we have to watch, like they're for hardcores. And they're not going to watch the undercard, or they're not going to stream, whatever pay-per-view undercards being shown. So I do understand that. At the same time, I get it from the promoter side. Like you have to take that chance. You have these fighters, and yes, you're going to limit the exposure of the other guys that could possibly be bigger. But what can you do? Women's boxing, you got to try to grow it at some point, because MMA's women have shown that they can be successful. So until it is completely crapped out, I think you got to at least keep pushing it. But I do understand that aspect of limiting other people's time.
All right, let's get to.
We got a super chat real quick, homie, from Jack Kilsby. Good job, guys, exposing your boys' BS 50 million offer. You done us UK sheep proud.
I don't see how do we expose it not being real?
We didn't, but
I know
what they want. Let's go to Scat Rants on the super chat. Good interview, TBV. Shout out to DB. Is DB who's DB? Is he DiBella? DB?
I don't know.
Like is DBE? Like
it's DB.
Yeah. Did he forget the E maybe? But whatever. DB.
Yeah.
Maybe he meant to put DBE. Scat Rants. Shout out to you because I see you in the comment section a lot. Thank you for showing some love. And we got also on the check-in, we got Dijon and also on the check-in on the Super Chat. Dijon, you're also on Skype and here on Super Chat saying thank you. You're pushing it for this fight. Great work. Jack Kilsby, Mike got to you. Yep. We'll get to callers. You know how it works. Boomerangers, masterminds, pound for pounders go first, and ringers, and then we get to the people. Everyone is the people. Those just happen to be the people that are loyal to TBV and want to see us continue to bring this extremely exclusive content and sign up to our Patreon. And they even have their questions asked to Lou DiBella, as you heard today. If you're watching this on YouTube, it helps with the visibility of the show for you to hit that thumbs up button. It doesn't matter if it's the future, present, past. It doesn't matter if you're watching it today, tomorrow, or later. It always helps. You could drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. All those good things work. If you want exclusive content never before seen, download the free Patreon app on your iPhone or your Android and sign up to Patreon for exclusive content. I mean, every single day there's stuff on Patreon, podcasts every day. We're going out to who's first?
A minute 30.
Actually, we're gonna do a minute and we're going to Rhythm and Violence. Boomerang Status. Talk to me.
Drive by. Man, my case is closed. I don't even have to say that no more. Man, Lou told it to you, Mike. He told you, bro. An unbiased person who dealing with everybody. That Crawford is, what he said, starving for a credible win. So you got to bring the bank player. Why he's starving for the credible win? Because that pound for pound status don't mean shit. Because he ain't beat shit yet. So Mike, sit back. Mike is on the side. He's trying to call it light eye. He don't want to go down that dog heaven. He want to be on the light heaven. So let him be on the light side while them boys are doing them dog things. They PVC side. I'll holler at you.
Rhythm and Violence, thanks for calling in. And thanks for reminding me to tell Mike that Lou DiBella is also throwing him a cherry by allowing him to sign the unknown Hadiyawa. Whatever. I mean, look, shout out to our listener. Let me give him the proper respect. I still got the Patreon post open because we do appreciate your patronage and your excellent question, which obviously softened Lou up. Brian Franco let us know about the Spaniard welterweight Kerman the Revolver Ligeroagua. Let's see if Jeffrey can help me with that. I should be knowing since this is Spain. Since he's from Spain, is obviously Spanish, you know, but who knows?
Ligeragua.
Why am I saying it like an Argentine? Even though there's a lot of Argentines that live in Spain. But anyway, keeping the phone lines moving, we went to Rhythm and Violence. We got Boomerang Status from the Canadian region. We have Jose. What it do?
Popping all this champagne, popping all this rosé, getting money like Jose, chain code Norway. Shorty wants that foreplay. I'm like, no way. Gotta rock it like Coldplay, killing it. OJ. Getting cheese like.
Hey boys, I only got a minute, so I'll be quick, man. As I've always said, I'm super impartial. I don't have favorites. I'm neutral when it comes to the boxing game. Lou DiBella, man, very disappointed. In my opinion, he's a bitch boss. He's not a real boss. You know, he doesn't have the power to spank you, man. He's like mommy, you know? Al Heyman's little puppet. He used to be the man when he was the little promoter fighting against Bob Arum and De La Hoya. You know, and that's when I respected the man, you know, when he was hustling and working hard. Now, he's got it made, man. You know, he's just got the golden ticket. He's like a little spoiled bitch. So I don't like him anymore. You know what? Eddie Hearn is his father. Eddie Hearn can spank him. It's not even, it's a joke. How can this clown be negotiating with Eddie Hearn, man? He's got no clout, no power, no decision-making power at all. So, I mean, I think him being on here is laughable, man. So that's my take on him. You know, it's really too bad considering his background from HBO and everything else.
Cut it.
Damn, Jose came for the throat.
Strange call because he made no sense. He just rambled about why Lou doesn't deserve to negotiate. Didn't give any real reason.
He said basically his point is that Al Heyman is the one making the real decisions, and Lou DiBella is basically like Heyman's using DiBella promotions as like a prop. That was his point. I don't think he's right fully, but wow.
All right,
He said
we're going to pound for pound status. Joel, the Prince of Dubai, what's going on, buddy? Joel, you just listening? Just listening? Once, twice, just listening. Joel, gone. Going to Joseph in Texas. Hey, Joseph, are you Patreon's Joseph Rodriguez?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, how much I actually appreciate you guys doing that. Hearing him answer my question, because I had Paulie in mind when I asked the question. So to hear him say that was pretty cool, because I've always thought that Paulie really overachieved. What fighter do you know with no power, was able to win 2 world titles? That's really what I want to say. Is I appreciate you guys doing that. And once I figure out what's going on with my Dallas Cowboys, I'm gonna upgrade my Patreon. I got me an iPhone, so I'm looking to try to get in that mastermind. And DiBella's energy was great.
Hey man, you now get that, damn it. Cowboys got a goddamn tough task coming up this damn Saturday or Sunday.
Get that out of here, man. Don't talk about no Cowboys, man. It's Giants.
I'm just saying, he know it. He know it's the Saints ain't no joke.
They do.
I know.
We had a tough task Saturday, and I was in the building, so getting myself warmed up for Mikey Arrow. I can't wait to go back. And real quick on DiBella's energy, man, you could tell how frustrating and full of shit Eddie Hurt is. You bring up his name, and it made that man cringe. He is sick of him. That tells me a lot right there. But that's my call, TBV. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, brother. He was right on time with that minute. We're going to go to, let me see, make sure we got no boomerangs, no ringers, no boomerangs, no ringers. We're going to Deja. How do you pronounce your name again, bro? We're going to learn this. Don't worry.
Hey, yo, can you hear us?
I hear you.
Yeah, it's Deej. It's Deej. I called in sometime Deej, like DJ, just Deej.
Okay.
Anyway, what's it called? I called in not so long ago. Jumped on the Patreon. Man, you turned me into a sheep, a boxing voice sheep.
Thank you. That's amazing.
You've knocked this out of the park. Literally, you've gone there. I think our last talk, I was talking about, I don't back these fighters. I'm a neutral. I just want to see this fight happen. And literally, I think you've been pushing for that. So I've got to sort of give you some congratulations for this interview. One thing I would say is I think Wilder deserves a better guy than Lou DiBella. This Lou DiBella guy is a clown. And I'm from the UK, and I don't like hearing people clown Deontay Wilder out. In my opinion, it's that guy, Lou DiBella. They need to get rid of him. People need to recognize that Wilder is the longest heavyweight reigning champion, and he needs some respect for that. I don't think he's trying to duck Joshua. I just think he's got a bad team around him. There's some good people around him, like Heyman and such. But this guy is a clown. You need to get rid of him. Maybe cut it.
Deej, great call, my friend. Great call. Got to get to some others. We're going back to my pound for pound supporter, Joel. Are you there? It looks like you're having issues. Joel. Yo, you serious, Joel? You don't want to talk? Is you just hanging out? You got bad. All right. It is Dubai. Maybe he doesn't have a good connection. Please text me or hit me up on Patreon. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to Marcus in Washington, D.C. Talk to me.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Voice, man? I came in on the interview late, man, but, just to see y'all had Lou on there. Heard y'all ask some tough questions at the end, man, so I want to applaud y'all TVB host crew today. I do want to say this. I agree with, women's sports is pretty hard to try to push on people, because a lot of times women's sports is supposedly marketed towards the family, but a lot of times these sports is littered with homosexual women, so that's not really a family thing. So, it's always going to be hard to sell that because, again, the average guy who liked a pretty female fighter, like if y'all can remember when they had like Mia St. John and all that stuff, she would get clobbered by, say the other potential person out there was Christy Martin, who we all knew was gay, but she didn't know until she came out gay. So women's boxing is always going to be a hard push on the public because women's sports historically have always been supported by family sports. And when you're gay, it's why WNBA doesn't do anything either, because it's a bunch of lesbians. And they got the right to do what they want to do, but the fact of who they're marketing to is a real problem.
Hey, just know I ain't cut you for your call. I cut you because it's time, baby. You have the right to say what you want. But I will say I did feel some type of way when who was it? Wasn't it Chris Cyborg beat the shit out of Gina Carano? I was mad. I ain't like that.
That on Showtime.
Even though I never really liked Gina, she had that real hard, strong jawline, but she was pretty. And you never want to see the pretty girl get punched in the face, but she was getting
like the first Ronda Rousey. It's kind of for that,
Yeah.
because she's in movies now.
All right, let me get to boomerang status, rhythm and violence. Something triggered you. What's going on, player?
Dude, what is wrong with these clowns? About women boxing is not marketable. Do they not remember Ronda Rousey getting knocked out and how it stopped the world, like when Mike Tyson lost? Do they not?
But that's UFC though. That's UFC. That's not
It
boxing.
only take one to turn women's boxing
I know,
into
but
that.
wait. Ness, and I know it's still a woman fighting sport. Meaning, if a woman's got enough shit talking and then got enough bravado, motherfucker, I don't give a fuck who it is, bro. People gonna want to watch that shit. These clowns, what they talking about? Nobody wants to watch, bro. I mean, it literally stopped the world when she got knocked out. When the last time a boxer got knocked out and it stopped the world like that? It happened often. You know why? Because people are interested. So when a motherfucker's interested, it's gonna stop the world. Stop with this dumb. Nah, look here. I hate women's basketball, but when it comes to women boxing, as bloody as them dudes be, I don't give a fuck how. If it's a good boxing match, it's a good boxing match. Y'all hardcore sound real clownish right now. Talking about a woman's boxing. We don't care if it's good. It's good, bro. A fight is a fight. Fuck this bullshit. Man, y'all sound like clowns today. I
totally agree with you, brother. Totally agree. And I'm even the guy that watches women's basketball.
I'm a fight nerd, so it doesn't really. I watch everything.
Well, I wouldn't call myself a nerd because you guys watch the lower weights.
So it's tough.
I'm a boxing fan. I know Katie. I know those girls are gonna be on. So I try to watch. Like I've been knew about Amanda Serrano because I used to frequent all of Lou's Broadway boxing. That's why I mentioned about him trying to get some TV time for that series. It's a good series. He has some good talent that usually graduates from there. We see them either be B-sides or become full-blown A-sides. And, he's been doing that for years out of pocket on his own. It would be good for someone to finally get behind him and put that little series on the map. Because, we've seen a lot of people. I mean, Heather Hardy, Patrick Day, so many people. I mean, the list goes on and on. Paulie Malignaggi, fucking Sean Porter. Broadway boxing is deep. And they used to have Roseland Ballroom in New York City where Lou used to do events there as well. And, again, man, just he needs some TV for that. We're going to go to what looks like Rod in the 870.
What's up, bro? What's up?
What up?
Hey, you guys caught me on lunch break, but I appreciate you asking that question. I think that was the best part of the interview. You challenged him. You never let him just kind of slip past with saying, whatever he wanted to say. I think you did a good job with the follow-up questions. Really appreciate that great interview. I think we got some great information. I'm pretty sure a lot of other YouTubers are going to take this interview and you're going to see a lot of videos come out of this. They should be paying you a commission. But with that said, you guys keep up the good work. I'll be ready for the next, show. All
right, brother. I'm going to tell you this right now, man. If y'all really want the next show, you really want fire right now, like you just see me look at my phone. If you're watching the video, you already know what it is. This is what I'm doing. I'm just showing that there's only one way to have war. You roll up your fucking sleeves.
You got to get both sides, right, baby?
You go to roll up your sleeves and you get knee deep in there in the grind. You feel me?
Get it out the fucking mud.
I just got a text from Wilder's manager.
Who is that?
Trainer.
What? Who could that be? Who could his manager trainer be?
Jay Deas just hit me up and he was like, sure, just call. So, I mean, we could extend this or we could schedule for another day. It's really simple. But, I mean, whatever it is, I want to see some love. The thumbs up still ain't at the right place.
And they have 400.
People acting stingy. Like, what's going on? We just asking for some thumbs up love. We just asking for them 5-star reviews. I mean, I'm going to keep the phone lines.
Man, we got some love, though, real quick. Jab, left hook, super chat. Good job exposing these UK sheep. Like how Lou said, they don't make fighters like old school. They all overprice themselves, making shit complicated. Shout out to Jab Left Hook, baby.
So we're gonna need more likes if you guys want to extend this. We need more likes, man. This is it's crazy how we only have 300.
I'm gonna get to some callers because I don't think they really want to have Jay Deas on here.
I don't think so either.
Ask how he feels, whether or not he thinks Fury is dragging his feet because he's a manager. He's got to be CC'd in these emails, right? He's got to know what's going on. But I guess you guys don't want to know what's going on. I guess you don't want to show no love. It's all good. All good. Thank God that niggas seen another day. Ali, what it do, baby? Where you been at?
Man, we're just handling business, family. But I've been watching though. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody on the podcast, man. But look, I'm gonna make it short and sweet. Everybody knows that AJ, Barry Hearn, and Eddie Hearn has been ducking Deontay Wilder to this day. To this day.
To this day.
To this day.
To this day.
And that's my call, TBV.
Day. To this day.
Straight jamming out, baby. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this beat on. I guess they don't want that other interview, man. We'll do that another time and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's up to y'all. Like, I don't know. Do I hit him with the outro? Oh, that's that Dollar Biasi outro right there. That's a new one right there.
What's the magic number, man? What's the magic? Where do we need to be at?
I don't know, man. I mean, shit. Mike needed a flight, man. Mike needed a flight to go to motherfucking from Texas. Where you going? Where you gotta go? Now he getting modest. Look at him. I swear to God.
Mike asleep. Wake up, Mike.
His internet frozen. How we gonna have another interview with you?
No, bro. I was back there doing the Fowler.
Hey, yo, Mike, I swear, you gonna make me fly to Indiana and have an adventure. You drinking scissor herb over there?
No. I was doing the fucking Fowler interview, bro. I'm trying to get that together so I can put that by itself and put it on the page. That's what I was doing. So I have to get back to the main screen.
My man Clipper Game said,
I'm working back here, baby.
Train of love from Indiana. Mike, stand up. Hey, Mike, yo, you making me feel jealous. Is this you bringing all the South love, or they just find Ness? I'm saying, what's really going on?
It's Mike.
Collective, man. Collective. Found Run G, Mario Beck, Ness still talking shit.
You're right. It is collective. We're a good team, man. We're a good team. This shit is going well. I'm gonna go ahead and have him call in, man. You know, you see,
okay, we at 322.
I could be stingy and be
Give
like,
me
oh, nah.
We can't get 350. Let's do 350.
350, man. Look.
There it goes. See, I was trying to do it because they threw us a couple dollars, but they said, nah, they don't want the dollars. They want dollars and a thumbs up. In the meantime, though, we're gonna get to some callers.
We got one from Relevant and Violence, though, real quick. New thing in this, if these clowns don't want 2 thumbs up, at least 75%, give the good shit to Patreon. Give it to these fools 3 weeks later.
Damn. He's setting rules on y'all. Yo, y'all better be careful. Y'all better be careful. You got the jab left hook, right? Okay, he sure did. I gotta take this.
Oh, they coming in strong.
Drop
now.
that interview from Gil Avila. Hey, shout out my guy Gil. Hey, you a real one, bro. Whenever I get to I believe New Jersey, gotta hit you up.
What do you say?
Just he said one time something about like lap dancers or something like when I touched down. So hey, let me go over there and see what the lap dance be like.
Yo, here we go.
What's that?
So I got the text pre-generated. So when y'all give me the word, you know what I'm saying? When
I see some orange super chats, man. They coming in strong.
When they show some love, you know, till this day, we gonna get to Noah and Cali. Noah, what it do, my G?
It's cracking with the TVZ, man. I missed the interview though. What was Lou DiBella on here talking about, man?
Straight fire. He was just, you know,
everything.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Because I mean, when I got on here, I mean, all you hear is these UK cats talking about he's all this money. He's all this money. He needs to go. He needs to go. They need to deal straight without Heyman. Al Heyman deal with whoever Al Heyman deal with, bro. And Al Heyman is not if I'm not mistaken, he's not a promoter. So, you know what I mean? Y'all got to deal with Lou. So y'all got to deal with Lou. Y'all got to figure that shit out. But as far as women's boxing goes, man, like they said, man, I mean, to be honest with you, the promotion behind it is whack. You know what I mean? Because we did have some killers like Ann Wolf, if you really know boxing. And if you watch, y'all can Google her if you think I'm lying. Google her if you think I'm lying. She's like, holy
That
shit.
knockout is crazy.
Murder.
I know what you're talking.
Murder. You know what I'm talking about. She was like 6'5", the light-skinned chick. And with the jab had game.
Noah,
Like, it was like, oh, man.
I'm going to get back to you, baby. It's that time. We have the trainer and manager of Deontay Wilder on the line. So let's get this done.
Day. To this day.
Jay, how's it going, my friend? Thank you for taking out the time to come here on the Boxing Voice one more time. We just finished talking to Lou DiBella, and yeah, we're just wondering, I mean, how's your New Year's? Happy New Year's.
Everything's good, man. Just ready to see what 2019 will bring. We're ready to go.
What's on your wish list?
Fury rematch and unification.
Is that the order?
I think so. If I had to guess, I know they're still talking to a lot of different people and things are kind of going in a lot of different directions. But as far as me, I would like to get the Tyson Fury rematch and then look to see whatever the other biggest fights are out there. You know, Deontay Wilder was in the two biggest heavyweight fights of 2018 against Ortiz and against Fury. And Deontay Wilder was in the two fights of the year, definitely heavyweight fights of the year, both of them candidates for fights of the year across the board. So you're looking at the guy that's fighting the best competition and is also producing the most exciting fight in Deontay Wilder.
Jay,
so are you feeling like most boxing fans, like, I don't know, Fury side is either getting cold feet or lobbying to see what exists with the Anthony Joshua Eddie Hearn side?
I don't think so. I don't know I wasn't able to hear what Lou was saying, but from my perspective, we've got a good history with the Fury people. We were both very straightforward and honest. We didn't play it out in the media and back and forth it in the media like other people tend to do and play games and all that. It was just it was a great deal and an easy deal to put together. And the product was there. It was a great fight for the fans. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's just an easy thing to put them back together. And I think that it's the fans want to see a resolution to this fight, and that's what the rematch will give them. So for my money, that's the way we should go.
Hey Jay, Mario Munguia here. I want to take it back real quick because you said that Fury, Joshua in that order. Obviously, that's the perception that everybody else has too. But from your point of view, is it because public opinion has gone to the Fury side and a lot of people believe he won? Is it because you think that you saw something in the fight that could help Deontay put him out a little easier? Is it because that 12th round y'all were just narrowly there and some people say that he should have been counted out? Like, what's the reason that Fury has topped that list?
Well, that's a good question. I think that for me personally, it's just a very intriguing fight, and I think that if you look at it and break it down, Deontay Wilder scored 2 knockdowns in the final 4 rounds. One arguably could have and should have been the fight ender. So if you look at that, you've got to figure that Deontay, he was figuring things out. His body was figuring things out. The biomechanics were figuring things out for him to produce 2 knockdowns in the final 4 rounds. So I definitely like the rematch for a variety of reasons. Number one, because I think it's the easiest fight to make. Number two, the fans want it and deserve it. And number three, I just like I like the fight for Deontay. I always have. Now Fury is a tremendous fighter, and I thought Deontay won the fight. Fury's people thought he won the fight. It's right for a rematch. But Tyson Fury's never going to be easy for anybody. He's very good at what he does, and you have to be at your best to beat him. But I feel like Deontay beat him the first time, and I feel like Deontay will beat him even more conclusively the second time.
Hey Jay, Mike here. Recently, Frank Warren came out and he had a proposed deal for a Sky and BT pay-per-view with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. What's your first reaction to this, and do you think that they will like possibly go that route?
I don't know much about that as far as I heard it, but I didn't see all the details of exactly what the proposal was, except it seemed to me like it was just something that Frank came up with as a possibility, as a possible solution to the problem of multiple, fighters aligned with multiple networks, which is always could be a problem. So it didn't really seem like it was a two-way street. It wasn't like he and Eddie were on the same page. It was just him saying, if we're going to do this, this is a way it could be done. So I don't really think that that's going to happen. I don't think they'll go that direction. I think that Fury's people will come to the same conclusion that we've come to. I mean, do you want to play a lot of games and do this thing in the media, or do you want to sit down and realistically hammer it out in an hour, which is what we brought to the table last time, and it's what we'll bring to the table this time.
Hey, this is Ron Goodall. So I just want to clarify: has the negotiations been harder this time? Because it seemed like you said like earlier it was just very easy, but now since the draw came up, Fury has got the public perception, maybe other options. Is now this a harder negotiation than you would assume than last time?
No, I don't think it's harder. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together. You have to, number one, you have to determine when both fighters can adequately prepare and be ready, and then you have to find a venue that's available on that certain date, which matches up with pay-per-view availability, network availability, and then so on. So it's really a matter of putting pieces together, and of course, several venues want the event, so that comes into play as well. You have to kind of listen to what everybody brings to the table. Is it going to be in New York? Is it going to be in Vegas? Back in Los Angeles? Is it going to be Dallas Stadium? Is it going to be overseas? Manchester? Is it going to be London? So you have to talk to a little bit of everybody, find out what everybody can do, and then what dates are available for everybody, and match them with the network and go from there. So it's a little more complicated than probably people realize, but all that is part of it, and we've done all that kind of thing before, and so we'll succeed in putting it together again. So I don't see it as more problematic than the last time. It's just a lot of pieces to put together.
Jay, ideally, when would you like to make an announcement, and when would you prefer the fight to be? We know Espinoza didn't want what Wilder wanted. Wilder wanted immediately April, May, should I say March, April, and Espinoza's thinking no, May, June. What does Jay Deas feel his fighter needs for recovery and to put together the new game plan for this version of Fury?
Well, I think, to answer your question in reverse order, I think obviously we'd want the fight before we announce. I would want to make sure we're locked down on everything before we announce anything. But March Madness is obviously something that could be, competition that maybe could draw some eyes away from what we're doing. So I think that's probably Steven's thought process, is that, March is typically not a great month for pay-per-views. So my guess would be late April, early May. I would actually love to see us take that Cinco de Mayo date that was such a big date for boxing, whether it's been Floyd or whether it's been Canelo. I don't know if that's been allocated to anyone, but if not, I think it'd be a great date for Wilder and Fury. And then you find, because it's Cinco de Mayo, you find just a tremendous undercard fight that would involve a fighter from Mexico. And you could have quite an international fight night right there. So that would be my preference, late April to early May.
Jay, let me ask you a question. There have been rumors circulating around, because you mentioned obviously different venues and different things. Obviously, AT&T Stadium, Cowboy Stadium, whatever you want to call it, has become a big attraction now for boxing, and the owner Jerry Jones has had a lot of interest in big fighters, big American fighters, and Deontay certainly tops that list in terms of big American fighters. Are there any truths to the whispers that there is a Texas fight in the works, or are there possible a potential showdown sometime for him in Texas, maybe Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium?
I would love that. From what I understand, is a beautiful facility, and Jerry Jones tends to get what he wants, and he's a huge boxing fan, and he has the sponsors and the resources and the financial backing to do just about anything he wants to do. So I haven't heard that as a probable or anything, but I've heard that there is some interest. So we'll kind of have to see where that's going, and how realistic that interest is, and we'll take it from there.
Have any other outside factors, not the UK, not the United States, made a big push to get this fight in one of their countries?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a big push. I think there are some countries that kind of want to do what Manila did with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, and then what back then.
When you say Manila, are you referring to the? Are you referring to Africa?
Yeah, this is what now is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Back then was what they called Zaire, Rumble in the Jungle, Ali and Foreman. So yeah, there are countries that have come and expressed some interest. I don't know how realistic they are, and I don't know if it's possible or not. But Deontay's a world champion, and he's never had a problem fighting anywhere. He's as an amateur fought in Argentina, China, Russia. In the pros, he's fought in Mexico, Puerto Rico, the UK, and was going to fight in Russia as a pro. So Deontay will go anywhere. He's never had a problem traveling. He's a world champion. He's not just relegated his entire career to his backyard. Like to me, if you're a world champion, you got to be a world champion.
Hey, Jay, this is Ron Goodall. So, historical dates every year. Floyd Mayweather recently had it. Canelo, Cinco de Mayo. Is that a date you guys are trying to look at, compete, maybe take? You guys are the heavyweights, the big boxing. You guys want Cinco de Mayo weekend? Is that something that's an option?
Yeah, I would love that weekend. Just like we mentioned earlier, I think that if you had that, and you had Wilder from the U.S. and you had Fury from the U.K., and then you found just a fantastic undercard fight involving a fighter from Mexico, you could tie it all in and really make Cinco de Mayo card into something special. If I'm not mistaken, the Saturday is actually the 4th. If I've got my dates right, would be yes. Cinco de Mayo weekend would be the Saturday would be the 4th, and that would be ideal time-wise to get ready and promote and do all the things you have to do. So as far as that, you know, we would definitely be ready.
It sounds like you were already been looking at, because you know that date so well off the top of your head, the 4th, Saturday. You guys are looking at it, right?
Well, I look at every day, so I can tell you most days and what days they fall on. If it comes around fight time, I kind of look at every possibility, because I kind of chart out the entire camp, and I do that, you know, so that I know exactly when we would start and what days would be sparring days and non-sparring days and so on. So I've always, you know, kind of done that. So that's just me more than anything.
Jay, is that Cinco de Mayo date more of a realistic plan for this particular year? Is now the time to strike? Is this something that we should seriously be talking with Al Heyman and Team Wilder, due to the fact that Canelo, if any time was ever the right time, it's now, that he doesn't have a recognizable network to push his Cinco de Mayo normal date? A big network, a Fox, a Showtime could slide in there. The general public could know about heavyweights fighting on that date much quicker than the middleweight that no one knew fought in December on the 15th.
Oh, I definitely think we would be the biggest show in town, and we would, you can't, you know, there's no fight that would be bigger on that date that's viable for everybody to make it. And that's exactly right. It would be a great time to establish that date. New sheriff in town, and his name is Deontay Wilder.
Would you compete? Because we've seen Canelo be contested on that date with Sergio Martinez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. before.
I don't know. That's really more of a network concern than it would be us. We're ready to fight on any date, but you know, you do have to realize that a network would probably have to look at all their options and see if they wanted to compete with anything. You know, there's a reason why when there's 2 NFL playoff games on a Saturday or a Sunday, there's a reason why one of them's at noon and the other one's at 3. You know, they don't go head to head, because, you know, why would you split your audience in any way, form, or fashion? So I do understand that logic. But, you know, as far as we're concerned, we'd be ready. But I'm not sure that Showtime would want to compete directly with anything else. They didn't have to.
Now, Jay, one thing that we've discussed on this show a lot lately is the other heavyweights. And I don't want to do them disrespect like they're the other heavyweights, because guys like White, Big Baby, you know, they've certainly made a case to deserve fights. Ortiz on the Joshua side. But the one thing that Lou said was that if the Fury fight doesn't come through, he'd be interested in Breazeale. Like, Breazeale's out there kind of just throwing it out, like, take care of the mandatory. But don't you think it would be better for Deontay to start the year off if he were to go elsewhere and maybe wait on the Breazeale fight until it was mandated and ordered? I mean, the Breazeale fight is not mandated and ordered. So why take that Breazeale fight if it's not mandated and ordered?
Well, it really depends on what other fight you would be talking about. If obviously the Fury fight, in my opinion, is the priority. But if that, for whatever reason, is not going to happen, and there's nothing that's bigger or as big out there, then you do have to look at, you know, going ahead and doing the mandatory, and then you know, moving forward from there. There is some intrigue into that mandatory because there's some personal history between Dominic Breazeale and Deontay Wilder. So there's certainly, you know, it's not your normal mandatory where you've never heard of the challenger and he's from, you know, someplace and nobody really knows him. I mean, this is a very interesting personal thing with Deontay and Dominic. So that wouldn't be your normal mandatory.
You said if you can't get the Fury fight, you will try to go with something else big. Is a Dillian White fight over in the UK a big enough fight to draw you guys over there?
I don't know. I'd have to see what they're talking about. Having dealt, you know, the last time I all I want is just a straight up deal conversation, and we'll see what the numbers are, and we'll see if that's the thing to do. If I mean, we don't have any problem at all fighting Dillian Whyte anywhere. So if that's the best option, that's the best option. But I just want to the negotiations to go on through, and I'm not a big fan of game playing. I think it's too serious a sport. These guys put their lives on the line, and it feels to me when people start playing games, it feels like rich boy chess. It feels like rich guys laughing and then, I'm gonna tell the media, we offered this. So watch what we do when watch what they do when we put this out there. And I just don't like all that. I think it's too serious, and I have too much respect for the fighters to kind of give it that feel. So I'm really not a big fan of that type of negotiation. So I would just want to, behind closed doors, let's sit down, let's hammer it out, let's get a deal together that's real, and we'd be on board with it.
Hey, this was Ron again. So there has been rumors and articles, people writing about additional emails, from Eddie Hearn's side, Barry Hearn, Anthony Joshua. Can we clear up any rumors? Have you guys gotten any additional offers? Anything else? Any reach out attempts? Because some people are saying that you guys are ignoring some of these random emails. I just wanted to make sure that we can clear up those are rumors or true.
No, I haven't heard anything about that, about there being, whether who's in touch with who and all that. I know Shelly has been on the front end. Shelly Finkel has been on the front end of dealing with a lot of that. And Shelly's an easy guy to reach. I mean, if Eddie doesn't have Shelly's phone number, all he's got to do is, contact me. My number's all over the internet. You guys found it easy enough. So all he would have to do is call me, and we'll get on a conference call. That's what I'm saying about going to the media and saying, this has been ignored or that's been ignored, or hey, pick up the phone and call. If you think you're being ignored, pick up the phone and call. Or we'll pick up the phone and call. I don't understand all the going, to the media with everything and all that. That's game playing, and like I said, I'm not a big fan of that.
Now, Jay, you don't think that Dillian Whyte fight is a little bit more possible? I mean, we just seen Showtime recently, once again, show Dillian Whyte's last fight, which ended in knockout of Derek Chisora. It seems like they're pushing for someone in their heavyweight stable to fight this man.
Like I said, I've got no problem with the fight, but I think obviously the rematch with Fury is the much bigger fight, and so that's my A right there. That's the one that I think the direction that I'd like to see us head in.
Now
first would be Tyson Fury, and I think that fight can be made.
We seen AJ and Eddie, and I'm only saying this for reference. We seen them draw a line in the sand and say, "Hey, we want an answer before December 1st." When are you going to tell Fury you want an answer? When does Deontay need to know to be prepared mentally and for camp and, just dieting? The man flies around a lot now. He's being pulled in every direction. Just had a child, multiple homes. What sort of time frame is Jay Deas looking to have Deontay back ready before, all this can happen?
Deontay will be back in the gym probably within the next week or two. And it'll just be a maintenance program type of thing. So he'll be ready whenever the time comes to kick it into high gear for camp. So I don't know that we would put a deadline on Fury. I think that
90 seconds
with his team is good enough where we don't have to do that type of thing. We talk it out, and decisions are made. And if it's going to happen, it'll get done pretty quickly. So I don't really see the need to put a definite deadline on anything.
Hey Jay, I got one more for you real quick. I thank you for giving us your time again on such short notice. Usyk has talked about coming up to the heavyweight. Most people's fighter of the year. He completely unified. undisputed at cruiserweight. What are your thoughts of him coming up, and is that a big enough fight for y'all to switch gears on Breazeale? I mean, I know that's probably unlikely, but just your thoughts anyway.
I think he's a tremendous fighter, and I thought the same thing in the amateurs. And so it's no surprise to me that he's done as well as he's done. I don't know that his name recognition is enough at this point, to make it a big enough event. But I think that he could get there with a little more exposure and possibly a couple
10
good
seconds.
wins at heavyweight. That could wind up being a really big fight. I don't think it's really there yet, but I think there would be a certain general public would wonder, who is this guy, not knowing that he's as good as he is. And I would kind of hope that that we could get to the point where the public understands what a fantastic fighter he is and what a huge challenge this is, so that the fight will be as big as it should be. So I guess hopefully he can make that happen through publicity and through maybe a couple of big heavyweight fights, and get his name up there in the heavyweight division, and we can make it happen.
Hey, Jay, I got one last question for myself. This is Ron again. I know the most important thing is whatever Wilder needs to do to be successful, but I just for fun, for Anthony Joshua to compete, let's say you guys do the Tyson Fury, do you think it's best for Anthony Joshua to come to the States and maybe fight a Big Baby Miller or Dylan White here in the States? And if that does happen in the United States, would you guys go to that fight? Would you guys watch the fight there at the arena? Would you entertain that? Would you guys be present?
First part of the question, definitely. I think if you're going to be a world champion, you need to be a world champion and fight more than just in your own home area. So I definitely think he should come and fight in the United States and fight a viable opponent, somebody that gets people excited and get his name out there on this side of the pond. I think that would be very important. So the second part of the question, yeah, if there was a real possibility, a real contract that basically been signed pending him winning the fight against Big Baby or whoever he fights in Vegas or New York or LA, then yeah, we would definitely go. But it would have to be real. It'd have to be no game playing. It would have to be pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered for us to do that. So we wouldn't just be wasting our time, and we wouldn't be contributing to some charade that they put out there. When Deontay went to Fury's fight, we believed and they believed that everybody was on board and serious about, should Fury win, Deontay would fight Fury, and that's exactly what happened. So we would want that kind of a scenario.
Jay, my last one is, how closely are you following the WBC rankings, and who do you have your eye on not in the top 5?
I have not. I have not been. I've not kept up with it or seen the latest version. So it's hard for me to answer that question. We want the biggest fights possible. I think now that Deontay has done pay-per-view and done good numbers and shown that.
Jay, I got to interrupt you. I got to interrupt you because you say good numbers, and you know what? Someone's got to ask the question. We never got any pay-per-view numbers. We haven't gotten any Canadian numbers. We only got one alleged 320,000 number. What's the actual number here? How well did it do? And what's going on? Why isn't this being announced? Why isn't it being celebrated? I can mention off the top of my head about 5 bigger names than Deontay Wilder back then when they were fighting, who've done lesser pay-per-views as their first pay-per-view and be more celebrated than this.
Yeah, I think you have a good point there. I would love to. I think those numbers should be out there. My understanding is the English numbers take longer, and that they typically ask for 60 days or so before they get their numbers out. But I think the numbers from the UK are going to come in between 400,000 and 500,000 on the buys there. Now, of course, they're not paying as much as the American market does, but if you add that together, then you're pushing upwards. You're pushing upwards between 800 to 1 million by the time you add, the other foreign sites and closed circuit. There were some closed circuit venues, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you. I would love to see those numbers get finalized and come out. Some places count numbers based on the order. Some numbers count numbers based on when the bill is paid, if that makes sense. So this was a little bit unusual in that the fight was December the 1st. So that bill doesn't come until January the 1st through the 10th. So let's say somebody pays it, then that would count according to the way some of them do their numbers. Others do their numbers once the button is clicked, they count it as assumed it's going to be paid. Some people take 2 months to pay. Some people take 3 months to pay. So, that the numbers will continue to come in. So it's not quite as easy as it sounds.
I just asked because I know you're a memorabilia guy. I've been to the gym numerous times. I walk around there. I see everything Deontay Wilder from the beginning to the end, from his first title shot to the first medal won in the amateurs. I'm sure you would want a frame or have a plaque of the first time he did pay-per-view. I mean, Marquez Bradley did 225. So if Deontay really did 320, that should be praised. Canelo Alvarez did 325, 345 with Liam Smith in Texas. If Deontay Wilder did 320, that needs to be said or at least be validated. But Jay, we've taken enough of your time. Thank you so much. Can't wait to get you back on. Hope you have something to announce here in the near future. As always, a pleasure. I think my guy Mike has another one. You can't get away from us.
Yeah, I was going to ask. There's been like a lot of talk in the boxing world about Victor Conte and the snack I guess program that they got going over there. I just want to know your opinions on snack and your opinions on Victor Conte.
I don't know a lot about him. I know he got in trouble a while back and then kind of turned things around and became maybe one of the leading authorities on nutrition or supplements or whatever. So I don't know what exactly you're referring to.
No, just like well, for instance, Mikey Garcia came out with a picture and he was all looked like he put on some pounds and looked damn good. So I believe Errol Spence got on his IG and referred to him as Kangaroo Jack on steroids. So the boxing world went crazy. The media went crazy with that, and then they started bringing up old stuff about Victor Conte and things of that nature.
Yeah, I'm not much of an internet guy, so sometimes these things go over my head. But I know as far as Deontay Wilder is concerned, he's always tested clean all the way back to the amateur days. In fact, our problem has always been keeping weight on Deontay. His metabolism is so high that even and plus the gym, as you guys know, is in a metal building in Alabama, so it's always very hot in there. So Deontay's we would love Deontay's weight to be 222 to 228. We've gotten there several times, and there's been times we haven't gotten there. But the main thing I think with Deontay, as far as he's always clean. He's always going to be clean. We expect our opponents to be clean. In this day and age, it's bad to say, but it's true. The cheaters are always going to be a little ahead of the regulatory bodies. There's always going to be people that can mask and disguise and find a way to cheat and get away with it for a little while until the testing catches up, and then those people will try to find another way to cheat. But with Deontay, it's real simple. He's just an incredible athlete, and I've told him I want him to make eating as important a part of his training regimen as the gym or the strength training. I want him to sit down, and say, I have to eat every day, this many times a day. Because Deontay, I would love to have this problem. Deontay actually forgets to eat a lot of times. He'll wake up, this person calls, that interview, then he's got to be over here, then he's got to, picking up his kids, then he's running, then he's got to be at the strength training, then he's going somewhere else, then he's at the gym, and all of a sudden it'll be 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and it'll kind of hit him like, man, I didn't even really eat today. And I said, man, D, I wish I had that problem. but that, I just really want him to kind of make that an important part of his lifestyle, because I think it'll help him. But as far as Garcia and Spence and all that, I just hope that all the testing is done to the letter of the law, just like we demand for all Deontay's fights. And when that's done, you should be in good hands. So I think that's a great fight for boxing. And I personally am looking forward to seeing it.
Jay, man, thank you for your time. Don't want to take any more. Have a great day, and can't wait to hear an announcement, brother.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. And, you mentioned those pay-per-views that Deontay had done better than, and he also did better, I think, than Triple G Lemieux and Triple G Jacobs and some of the other fights.
Yeah, even Ward Kovalev. Even Ward Kovalev both times.
Yeah, there you go. That was the other one. I was on the tip of my tongue, and I should have known you'd be the one to get it. Ward Kovalev. That's exactly right. So I think that people are starting to really see the treasure that they have in Deontay Wilder, the guy who's fighting that nobody else can claim a resume like Deontay's when it comes to 2018, fighting Ortiz and Fury is amazing. And then for both of them to be fights of the year candidates, I think people should realize what they have and not appreciate him when he's retired, but appreciate him now, because he truly does want to fight the best. And let's face it, when Deontay Wilder fights, you really don't want to turn your head and look in any other direction. It's must-see TV, and there's not a lot of guys you can say that about.
That's absolutely right, man. We can't wait to get him back, man. Tell Espinoza we want March, April. We don't want to wait till May, June. But thanks, Jay. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. There you have it. Wilder's trainer and manager, Jay Deas. And we also brought you Lou DiBella. We're going to go out to a couple of calls. We're getting back to Noah. Finish up your call, my man.
I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about. Anyway, though. No, for real. That was a great interview right there, man. Basically, that just sets the tone. So all that other stuff they were saying about Lou DiBella is out of there, because right now, we're waiting to see what Fury do. And yeah, man, I really ain't got nothing to talk about. You caught me off guard. I'm trying to eat this food.
All right, Noah, no problem. We're going to KO'd on the Boomerang. Talk to me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
We hear you.
Yeah, Jay Deas is like saying 400 to 500,000 UK viewers at that time of the morning. That's a complete BS. Come on. That's BS. That's how I know you can't trust this guy. And that's my
you're saying is BS. All right, that's your call, so you won't even get to rebuttal my statement. Thanks for calling in. We're gonna go ahead and throw this beat on, but I'll say, how could you? No, sorry. How could you say that is BS and that's why you don't trust him when no one knows the facts? No one. I see people in the chat putting all type of numbers. I'm like, Jesus, where are they getting them from? But anyway, I'm your host, Mr. Gibbs, for Instagram, Twitter. Oh, shit. Did we ever get to Marcus in DC? We did. We definitely got to Marcus. He was talking women's boxing. Yes, he did. He talked women's boxing and women's basketball. I am your host, Mr. Gibbs, Instagram, Twitter, NestGTO. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Future, present, past, hit that thumbs up button. Take the time out to drop us that 5-star review. Listen, we're working really hard. If you want us to stick around and keep doing this every single day, multiple times a day, will help us grow. Hit the thumbs up. It helps with the visibility of the show. Show your support. You can do so by doing paypal.me/ThaBoxingVoice or signing up to Patreon so that money gets you extra exclusive content, because there's tons of stuff that we do. I mean, today alone, we're going to be doing a Wilder Fury review sometime today. I know Mario has to go to the gym, and, Mike has plenty of things to do. Maybe an evening show, maybe a mid-afternoon. But if you are not signed up to Patreon, you will never know when this exclusive footage content is going down. Once again, thank you for everyone tuning in 5-star reviews. Let's kill them this year. 2019, we coming.
Yeah. I'm at Mario Munguia on Instagram and Twitter. Great show.
And you can find me at Ron G FIQ on Twitter. Great show. I'm packing up my stuff. You guys prepare. I will be out in the streets of New York. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of running and gunning with the camera. So hopefully we can get more and more questions, interviews, fun stuff.
Guess where you could have been at today had you been living in New York already? Watching
many places.
Manaki spar with Michael Polite Coffee.
Ooh, that would be nice. Ooh. Nice treat. Well, big ups to Lou DiBella and big ups to Jay Deas for coming on the show. Thank you guys for your time. Follow me on IG, Grouse1911, or on Twitter at Grouse2312. And we got a super chat from Rhythm and Violence. We learned
today Mario can't rap. Oh, Mario, you got to hit him with a second chance. I don't know.
What do you say?
I think Mario got the bars, B. He said we learned today you can't rap.
Come on, Mario.
Who said that?
Rhythm and Violence coming for you. Gun.
He's a Patreon, right?
Yep.
I got him.
Let me go out to this last one. Y'all can jump off. I'll take care of this Skype caller. It looks like a first-time caller. Lush. Where you
What up, Lush?
Yo, B on Skype. LU going once, twice.
Issues on the financial side.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Nestor.
It is. And you are?
What's up, man? My name is Elisha.
Elijah, where are you calling in from?
Zimbabwe.
Woo! Let me get my fucking air horns out. Yo, don't be teasing me, man. You better be from Zimbabwe. I love that the show is international, global, killing them.
I'm teasing you. I actually had to open my Skype account just because I saw the notification that I have to call on Skype. I'm a huge follower.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. We appreciate it. I'm actually super happy that I stopped the show. We were about to leave. The beat was on. Everybody was ready to go, packing their bags. But you know what I said? This guy wants to talk. He called in the last second, but he has something on his mind, and you made my day.
That's cool, man.
Well, thank you, brother. Listen, just make sure you get those notifications. If you hit that notification bell on YouTube, you'll be notified a lot earlier when we go live, and you can call in during the live show and definitely give us your opinion. Or you could join us on Patreon, where we will be having exclusive content later on today. We'll be reviewing Wilder Fury and rescoring it, seeing if Mario can't come up with this fake 10-2. But any final thoughts from Zimbabwe?
Yeah, I wanted to say, man, I was listening in to the when you were interviewing Deontay Wilder's trainer. But man, you weren't keeping the same energy, man. You said no Breazeale fight, man. You don't want to hear about no Breazeale fight. I didn't hear you saying that, man.
You know,
we said it.
I'm always trying to give the team a time to shine, and I heard them say it, so I didn't feel I needed to jump on it.
I told him, I said, look, like I made it very clear that was a whack fight. I mean, I didn't come out and say it like that, but I mean, I thought I was making it clear.
He
said,
Well, we're gonna try, man. That's not the first time we had him on, so we'll bring him back through, and we'll put him through the ringer if we have to, man. He's a good sport. The interviews don't stop every day. We got 1 or 2 interviews for you guys, man, and I hope you continue to listen. Spread the word out there in Zimbabwe. We need more listeners and callers from your side of the world. And, man, look, I want to thank you for calling in. We're going to get ahead and get up out of here. Everyone said their social media, so we check you guys on the next one. Peace.